Hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you about the new visual track height settings feature in Cohler Classical Pro. This allows you to configure your screen in a matter of seconds, and it's all with immediate visual feedback. You don't have to type numbers in and so forth. So to do this, we go to the options screen. Actually, the menu is available several places, but right at the top of options you'll see CC Settings Pro. Go to Track Heights. That opens this window called Track Height Settings. Now, the first slider controls how many tracks are going to be visible inside the window that you currently have. The default setting is 10. That's what it's set to now. Let's say you're not using, source groups 5 through 10. You only really need a few of them. You can decrease this number, which makes your tracks bigger. So now I've got it set to 5. I think it goes in increments of a half. Now the other ones are still there. I can scroll up and down. They're all there, but they're sized so that there's only 5 track groups on the screen now. So you can choose that size to be whatever size you like just by sliding it, and it immediately shows you what the size is. Then the second slider, without changing the number of track groups on the screen, sets how big the destination is, the first group, relative to the others. Currently that's 3.5. If I turn that down, you see it's resizing it so it's smaller, but it's still keeping exactly 5 track groups on the screen. So you can choose, do you want your destination group larger than the others, the same size, smaller? You can make it can be extreme, you can make it 25 times larger if you want. The default is around 3. But depending on what size you're working at, you might want to change that. Again, it shows you visually. So as it resizes that destination, it also resizes the others so they still fit. Now, the third slider sets the media track heights. Now, currently, they're all collapsed. But if you move this slider, it'll automatically open them up and show them to you. So I'm currently in the destination group, and it's currently set at 25 pixels for the media track. So if I move that a little, you'll see they all open up. And now I can see what size they're. If you make them too small, you can't really see the waveforms at all in REAPER. Then you begin to see them. If you want to see them more, you can make it like that. So that's up to you how big you want that to be. And of course, once you set that, if I now collapse the tracks using the standard Control Option Command T, which is Show Hide Tracks Media, so that collapses them. But their size is still set. I currently have them set for 48. So if I open them back up, they come back at that size. And they're that size in all track groups. So once you set it, it's set it for all the track groups automatically. The other type of track besides the media track heights is folder tracks. Those are tracks that don't contain media, but that are used for mixing purposes and hierarchy purposes. So again, when you move the slider, it will immediately show you the folder tracks. So you can see how big they are. So you got your destination, edit, mix, main. Here's destination. Here's edit, mix. Here's main. And you can see now that's set to 89 pixels. So it depends on how many of these controls you want to see. If you make the folder tracks smaller, some of those controls disappear. If you like to see them, you can open them up. Again, personal preference. It shows it to you as it's doing it. Once you're done adjusting that, you'll want to close up your folder tracks, which you can again do using navigation, tracks, and toggle the folder tracks. Now, if you have automation on some of your folders, those won't close immediately when you toggle the folder tracks close because they have automation. So you'll have to toggle the automation close. So you go to tracks, toggle automation, and now that's all closed. But the height of those tracks is set at 60 now. And the last slider is for the current group. So let's say I'm working for a moment in source group 2 here, and for some reason I want to see this group larger. While it's selected, I just move this slider, it makes that group larger. Now, I can always go back to the default size for the number of tracks on the screen that I have by going to my zoom view, vertical, and you go back to unzoom, because what I did is I just made a selected track group larger, which can also be done with keystrokes. If I unzoom it, which is Control Option Command Z, it puts it back to the standard size for the current screen setting. And again, if I drag this, that resets that as well. Now, the other thing about this window is that every setting in here, it's bidirectional. So if you change it in REAPER, it automatically updates in this window. If you change it here, it updates in REAPER. So if I manually were to drag the size of this source group, you'll see the slider moving under current group in the window. Okay? So whatever I set it to is what it's going to show up here. That's true of all of these things. So these can also be set through numerical windows as well. If you go to the Options menu and you go to General, you'll see the folder track height, the small track height, etc. You can set them numerically there. But this window in the Pro version gives you an immediate visual feedback. So this now makes your screen setup instantaneous, and you don't have to futz around with resizing large numbers of tracks and figuring out how to place things. This window you can keep open if you want to, or you can close it up, and it remembers its positions. And this window is available under several menus. It's also available under the View menu, where you see View, CC Settings, under Windows, CC Settings. It's also available under the Edit menu, under Preferences, CC Settings. So you can get to it under Edit menu, under the View menu, under the Options menu. You can also, if you're on a Mac, go to the Help screen and type in track height, and you'll find it immediately. That's one of them. That's where it is in that menu, and that's where it is in that menu. Everything in Cohler Classical is just one click away.